Long before great empires rose and fell, the sands of Arabia whispered tales of tribes and kingdoms, traders and mystics. Amidst this desert tapestry, a single event would soon alter the course of history forever. But how did a barren desert peninsula become the birthplace of one of humanity's greatest civilizations? In this two-part series, we'll explore 1,000 years of Islamic history, starting today with the remarkable life and legacy of Prophet Muhammad and the legacy he left behind, through the age of the rightly guided Caliphs, the rise of dynasties, the flourishing of knowledge in Baghdad, the trials of Crusaders and Mongols, and the emergence of the Ottoman Caliphate. In the 6th century, the Arabian Peninsula stood apart from the powerful empires around it. To the west, the Christian Byzantines ruled the eastern Mediterranean. To the east, the Persian Sasanians held firm control. Arabia, in contrast, was fragmented, without kings, empires, or unified law. It was a land of tribes, each with its own leaders, customs, and loyalties. These tribes often clashed, with loyalty to clan placed above any larger identity. Cities like Mecca and Yathrib, later Medina, existed, but most people were nomadic, moving for trade, water, and grazing. Religion varied. Most Arabs were polytheists, worshiping many gods, with the Kaaba in Mecca holding tribal idols. Still, small groups of Christians, Jews, and Hanifs followed monotheism. Oral poetry was central, used to pass down history, praise, and grief. Despite this cultural richness, Arabia lacked a shared religion, system, or vision. This divided land would soon give rise to a message that would reshape the world. In 570 CE, in the city of Mecca, a child named Muhammad was born into the respected but not wealthy Hashem clan of the Quraysh tribe. Orphaned at a young age, he grew up under the care of his grandfather and later his uncle. Known for his honesty and calm demeanor, Muhammad earned the title of Al-Amin, the trustworthy. As a merchant, he traveled extensively, observing the world and its injustices. At the age of 40, Muhammad retreated to the solitude of Cave Hira, seeking clarity in a society troubled by inequality and moral decay. It was there that he received the first revelation from the angel Jibril, words that would later form the foundation of the Quran. This moment marked the beginning of his role as the final prophet in a long line that included Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. He called his people to Tawhid, the belief in one singular God. The message, however, was met with fierce resistance. The Quraysh saw it as a threat to their social traditions, the authority of tribal leaders, and especially the Kaaba-centered pilgrimage economy that brought wealth to Mecca. Muhammad and his followers were mocked, persecuted, and boycotted. Some were tortured, others exiled. Yet he remained steadfast. Among the spiritual milestones during this period was the Isra and Miraj, the night journey, where Muhammad, by divine will, was taken from Mecca to Jerusalem and then ascended to the heavens. It was both a miraculous sign and a source of deep comfort during times of hardship. As hostility in Mecca escalated, a new chapter unfolded. In 622 CE, Muhammad and his followers migrated to Yathrib, a city that would soon be renamed Medina, the city of the Prophet. This migration, or hijra, marked the official beginning of the Islamic calendar and the birth of a new community based not on tribal lineage, but on shared belief. In Medina, Muhammad established the first Muslim polity as a nation, a united society built on principles of faith, justice, and mutual cooperation. The Constitution of Medina outlined the rights and duties of Muslims and non-Muslims alike, which created a multi-religious civil society. However, peace did not come easily. The Muslims faced multiple battles such as Badr, where they achieved an unlikely victory, Ohad, where they suffered a setback, and the Battle of the Trench, where strategy ensured survival against a siege. Throughout these challenges, Muhammad led with wisdom, forming alliances, sending letters to regional rulers, and continuing to spread the message of Islam beyond Arabia. His leadership turned a persecuted group into a cohesive nation, guided not by tribalism, but by divine principles. But the story doesn't end here, because what began as a small community in Medina would soon grow into something far larger, reshaping the political map of the world. In 630 CE, after years of persecution, migration, and war, the Prophet Muhammad returned to Mecca, not with vengeance, but with grace. The city that once rejected him opened its gates, and instead of revenge, he offered amnesty. Idols were removed from the Kaaba, and Mecca was re-established as the spiritual center of monotheism. This moment marked not only a victory, but a turning point, an embodiment of mercy triumphing over hostility. 2 years later, during Hajj, the Prophet delivered his final speech before a vast assembly at Mount of Arafah. His words were clear and enduring. Every Muslim, regardless of race or status, is equal. He spoke against racism, injustice, and exploitation, declaring that no Arab is superior to a non-Arab, and no white is better than a black, except by piety and good action. He reminded the people to treat women with kindness, to uphold trust, and to follow the Quran and his teachings. The sermon was a comprehensive guide for the Ummah, a lasting message of human dignity, moral responsibility, and communal unity. In 632 CE, the Prophet passed away in Medina. His death left the Muslim community in shock. For many, it was not only the loss of a leader, but of the one through whom they received revelation. However, what he left behind was more than a faith. It was a foundation for a civilization. Following the Prophet's death, leadership passed to a new figure, the Caliph, meaning successor. The first 4 caliphs, known as the Rashidun, or rightly guided. Abu Bakr, the Prophet's closest companion, became the first caliph. His brief rule was marked by internal challenges, including tribes refusing to pay zakat. He responded firmly, preserving unity and commissioning the compilation of the Quran. After his death, Umar ibn al-Khattab took charge as the second caliph. A visionary administrator, he expanded the empire across Persia, the Levant, and Egypt. He introduced systems for governance, justice, and taxation that would shape Islamic governance for generations. After Umar's assassination, Uthman ibn Affan became the third caliph. Under his leadership, the Quran was standardized into one official version to avoid disputes over the textual pronunciation. However, his rule saw growing discontent. Accusations of nepotism and mismanagement led to unrest. And in 656 CE, he was assassinated by rebels in Medina. Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law, then became the fourth caliph. His rule was tested from the outset. Disputes over Uthman's death, questions of justice, and political ambitions sparked the first civil wars in the Muslim world. His leadership emphasized justice and piety, but the divisions ran deep. In 661 CE, Ali was assassinated, bringing the era of the rightly guided caliphs to a tragic end. 3 of the 4 caliphs had been martyred. The unity of leadership was broken, and dynastic politics loomed ahead. This period also marked the emergence of a deepening divide within the Muslim world. The internal conflicts that unfolded during Ali's time erupted into the Battle of the Camel and the Battle of Siffin. These were not only political showdowns, but ideological struggles over leadership and legitimacy. A group of Muslims, later known as Shia, held that Ali and his descendants were the rightful successors to the Prophet. Others, who would become known as Sunnis, believed leadership could be chosen through consensus. These opposing views, once political, gradually evolved into theological distinctions. The wounds deepened in 680 CE when Ali's son and Prophet Muhammad's grandchild, Hussein, was killed in Karbala by the forces of the Umayyad ruler. His martyrdom became a symbol of resistance, sacrifice, and injustice, a moment that continues to shape Muslim consciousness to this day. As unity gave way to political dynasties, a new power would soon rise in Damascus. After the death of Ali and the end of the era of Caliphate, power passed into the hands of the Umayyad dynasty. In 661 CE, Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, a powerful governor from the influential Umayyad family, established himself as caliph. The political center of Islam shifted from Medina to Damascus, marking a move from the simplicity of early leadership to a more structured imperial administration. This shift also symbolized a transformation from a community of believers and Muslims to an empire ruled by hereditary succession. The Umayyad expanded the Caliphate at an unprecedented rate. Their armies pushed west into North Africa and crossed into the Iberian Peninsula, eventually reaching modern-day Spain. In the east, they extended control deep into Central Asia. Under their rule, the Islamic world became one of the largest empires in history. Arabic was made the official language of administration, unifying diverse regions under a common tongue. This helped facilitate governance, trade, and record-keeping across vast territories. Despite their achievements, the Umayyad faced criticism and unrest. Many non-Arab Muslims, particularly Persians and others who had converted to Islam, felt sidelined and discriminated against in a system that favored Arab elites. Tribal favoritism also led to tensions, and opposition simmered beneath the surface. Rebellions erupted, fueled by political dissatisfaction and calls for more inclusive leadership. In 750 CE, the Abbasid family, claiming descent from the Prophet's uncle Abbas, capitalized on this unrest. They led a revolution with broad support, especially from non-Arab Muslims who sought greater representation. The Abbasids overthrew the Umayyads in a swift and bloody coup. Almost the entire Umayyad family was eliminated, except for a single survivor who fled to Spain and later established a rival dynasty there. With the Abbasids in power, the capital moved once again, this time to Baghdad, a city they built from scratch along the Tigris River. Unlike their predecessors, the Abbasids focused less on military expansion and more on internal development. Their rule emphasized consolidation, cultural growth, and intellectual advancement. Baghdad became the heart of a new era, one that valued knowledge, dialogue, and discovery. In Baghdad, the Abbasids laid the foundation for what would become the Golden Age of Islam. The translation movement began in full force. Greek, Persian, Indian, and Syriac texts were translated into Arabic, bringing philosophy, medicine, mathematics, and astronomy into the Islamic world. This effort preserved centuries of human thought and opened the door to original contributions. Scholars from across the empire gathered in Baghdad. Physicians like al-Razi, philosophers like al-Kindi, and mathematicians like al-Khwarizmi developed ideas that would influence both the Islamic world and Europe for centuries. Poetry flourished, and scientific inquiry was encouraged under royal patronage. Central to this intellectual boom was the Bayt al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom, a grand library, academy, and translation center that became a beacon for scholars. The Abbasid era saw the emergence of a multicultural and cosmopolitan society. Arab, Persian, Turkic, Berber, and other peoples contributed to this shared civilization. As knowledge became the currency of prestige, Baghdad stood as a symbol of human potential. But as the city rose in brilliance, new challenges would begin to stir across the far edges of the empire. From the solitary revelations in a Meccan cave to the vibrant scholarship of Baghdad's Golden Age, the early Islamic world grew through faith, resilience, and pursuit of knowledge. But this is only the beginning. In Part 2, we explore crusades, empires, and the road to modern times. Like, share, and subscribe to Continue the Journey.